What is going on, everybody? We are back again for the State of the Franchise episode. And there's a lot to talk about, Jason, because we're in that beautiful time where free agency has kind of cleared and we're starting to look at the draft. And we got to look at the team as it's been constructed up until late. Do we like it? Do we not like it? What could they improve on? All that coming up right now. Let's go. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Shout out to all our spicy sourdough squatters out there vibing with us on the State of the Franchise. Drop your spicy sourdoughs in the chat. How are we doing today? It's Friday, Jason. How are we feeling, man?
Amazing. Later on tonight, I will be going to the movie theater to watch the greatest movie of all time. I'm already declaring it in my head, John Wick 4. And I'm super excited to see that. And Brad, draft time is fun. And I feel like my interest in the draft has been ramped up year after year being a content creator. But, you and I were talking offline. There's no better feeling than organically finding a player. When you walk in and you watch their tape and you watch the film and you watch them and you say, I had no preconceived notion of what you were, and I immediately love what you've done. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I'm feeling excited right now because I'm starting to get to the point in the evaluation process where, wow, like watching guys really gets me excited. I'm like, wow, man, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be great, even if the 49ers don't draft you.
See it already. They're like, this guy's gonna be legendary. And I agree. The organic find, there's something different about the organic find. That's probably why, 4 years later, I'm still talking about Brian Burns. Brian Burns was a purely organic, no clue who this guy was. You turn on the tape, I'm like, oh, this guy's dope. But there's a different connection, a bond almost created when you come across these guys that you just don't, you have no idea, never heard of them, like you haven't seen them, and then you're like, that's a dude right there.
Same idea with Terry McLaurin and a few other guys who like DJ Moore, who I could. I gravitate more to wide receivers and corners because I identify whatever my skill set would be in the league to them, right? Like, you're a former offensive lineman, so you're going to watch O-line guys. You're interested in O-line play. I'm interested in that to a certain degree, but what really gets me going is watching wide receivers who can run routes and watching cornerbacks who can cover. And that's I think the part that I want to tell people. When you're going through your evaluation process and you're looking for guys, it's okay to say that you prefer to watch other positions than others, right? Like even Chris Kocurek said it when he was talking about being a part of the defensive coordinator discussion. He talked about, I watch defensive film, but my eyes always gravitate to the defensive line and the guys who are or the pass rushers. So again, there's no problem in that. As long as you identify that and know what you want to watch, it becomes easier and much more fun to watch. And I think that's the best way to put it.
Absolutely. And the San Francisco 49ers have clearly went through free agency and they have identified who they feel is the best fit for their roster up until this point. So let's start here, Jason, because I don't know how you feel about free agency, but do you feel that we've gotten to the point in free agency where the San Francisco 49ers, they're pretty much wrapped? Like, we might see a couple, depth pieces trickle in, kind of like what we got earlier this week. But do you kind of feel like, looking at the grand scheme of 49ers free agency, the available free agents left, do you feel like the 49ers are done, or do they still have some tricks up their sleeves?
I don't think they're done. And I think what you mean by tricks up their sleeves depends on what you want the 49ers to target. Do you want names? Do you want people that can be impact players? Because, Brad, looking down the list of players that are still available, it kind of boggles my mind. And I had to ask KP when we were going through like what we're doing for content. Like, is it normally this loaded with talent still a week and a half or 2 weeks into this process now? When you look up and down at positions, corner, edge, safety, like you look around and you're like, why aren't these guys signed right now? There's so much more out there. So for me, it depends on the viewer right now. What you mean by done. Now, I've been very vocal about wanting another edge player who can be a 1 year guy. Justin Houston is the name that I keep banging the table for. But at the same time, the 49ers are kind of following the same thing that they've done over and over every offseason. It's so funny that a lot of us continue to try to figure out, well, what are they cooking? It's almost the same thing every single year. I think we should almost like set our watch to it, right, Brad?
Yeah, 100%. They've definitely they have an awesome system. I feel like of how they've gone out and executed. Like, let's look at free agency and let's compare it to last year, for example. What was the big thing last year? It was going out, getting Mooney Ward, your shining star of free agency, retaining some guys and backfilling depth, right? Like they got last year, it was special teamers, George Odom, Oren Burks. You know, they insulated the roster when it came to building it. They got their shining star in Mooney Ward. We'll kind of look at this year. They get their shining, like the shining star. I mean, I think that's one of the cool things about this particular free agency is they arguably got the best available defender on the free agent market in Javon Hargrave. So going out and getting that also in a huge spot where we need to bolster the interior defensive line, and they go out and get one of the best ones in the game. He's a top 3 interior defensive lineman probably right now in this league. Then you go, they get Jake Brendel, and then it's kind of like backfill mode. Like, okay, we got to get some safety depth, some corner depth, quarterback 3, and then they're just now like just plugging holes. They just got an edge defender on a 1 year. So it feels like what you said. You can kind of set your clock to kind of how we're seeing the San Francisco 49ers operate. Go back to 2021. They had their big time free agent was Trent Williams. They had to bring him in. They bring in Alex Mack. They signed Kyle Juszczyk. But other than that, they're pretty steady, right? They either retain their guys or add at minimum one big guy, and then it's just let's build this roster out and get prepared for the draft, right?
And there's still one more big move in the chamber, and I don't think it has to be free agency. 11 picks in this draft. This smells like a move up, Brad. I mean, you've already hit the maximum amount of comp picks that you can have for next year. You have a first and a second. There is sufficient ammo to move up and target a guy. So again, splashes, big moves don't necessarily have to be big names in free agency always. But there is one more move up their sleeve, and I think that's in the draft, and I think everybody can kind of see it coming. And depending on how the board lays is where you'll see the movement, right? If the 49ers, who met again with Blake Freeland, by the way, Graham, per Steph 49K,
boom.
By the way.
Shout out Steph. She's on top of it. She's cooking.
Oh, she's cooking. Absolutely cooking. Blake Freeland feels like your right tackle of the future, right? 6'8", great at the second level, can move, athletic. I mean, he's bench pressing, whatever it is. You figure out how to make him take that jump.
The roof right now at 6'8", 300.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. And 99, he ain't going to be there in 99. So you've got to make a move for him, right? He started to feel more and more. And I think it was Tony, who is one of my channel members, Tony Nagatini.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, who said he feels like this draft's Cole Strange. And I 100% agree with that, right? Cole Strange was a name that I walked away when I went to the Senior Bowl and said, okay, that's an obvious fit for the 49ers. Well, I thought he was going to be a second, third rounder, and he went in the first round. So it's going to be people that are going to look at Blake Freeland, see the size, see the athletic ability, and then say, we need to reach for that. So it depends. How does the board fall? If he goes way too high, then obviously he's out of the 49ers range. Obviously, the 49ers can't move up too far. And I want to make sure that I articulate that well. When you look at the precedent set on how you can move to certain spots, the more you want to move up, the more you have to give up. Even if you want to move up 5-6 spots, you're still going to have to give up something for that. Now, people are saying, well, just trade into the middle of the second round from 99. Good God, what are you going to have to give up? You know, again, so it depends on how the board lays. But I did agree with Tony 100% when he said that about Cole Strange and Blake Freeland being the same type of like riser, to the point that people are going to identify what they like in him and go ahead and reach early up for him.
Absolutely, and perfectly said. And if we're going to stick on Blake Freeland for a second, like I think the NFL has already told us how they value prospects like Blake Freeland, which again is going to make it very difficult for the San Francisco 49ers to potentially pick him at 99. The trade up is going to have to happen. And the reason why I say the NFL is showing us how they feel about prospects like Blake Freeland, Mike McGlinchey just got $87.5 million on the open market. That is big time money for a right tackle. What are some of Blake Freeland's biggest similarities? Size, a little slender, good in the run game.
Needs help with pass pro.
Needs a little polish in pass pro. I've been really reluctant to say this out loud. I've said it behind closed doors, but my comp for Freeland is McGlinchey. And the reason why to me that's a positive is because clearly I've watched every snap of Mike McGlinchey. I know what he's good at. I know what he's not good at. And I also saw Mike McGlinchey improve as a pass blocker. Going back to that 2020 season, that was atrocious. He struggled mightily. But from 2020 to 2022, you saw Mike get incrementally better. Now, everyone remembers the crazy, Micah Parson flip, those types of things. Hey, it happens, man. But what you could see when you're looking at the entire body of work is he was improving. With Blake Freeland, Blake Freeland is a more juiced up Mike McGlinchey, if that makes sense. Like, he's got the size. He has enough bend in the run game to be extremely
more
effective.
athletic.
He's way more athletic, and he has upside to improve his technique. Now, he does show he's not super consistent in pass protection, but he has the ability to improve with what I see. He's got the feet, he's got base, he's got enough bend that you can continue to work on that technique, and he will be one of these guys that will get better as a pro. So he can add more weight to that frame. He's 6'8", 300. I stood 2 feet away from him, spoke to him at the combine. He looks like a kid. You can tell he's got some maturing to do, some growing to do. He'll add a solid 10 pounds of functional strength and muscle. He'll continue to improve, and he'll be able to get better as a pass blocker. So I like Blake Freeland a whole lot. I know none of you like the comp to McGlinchey, but for me, it makes a lot of sense.
And I want to remind people, when you're 6'8" and you talk about pad level, pad level is going to be a problem when you're bigger than everybody, right? Like, I want to make sure that we get that out there, right? If I was playing against a bunch of 5'5", guys who weighed more than I did at 6'5", my pad levels would be a problem. I wouldn't be able to get them down far enough because I'm taller. So again, it does feel like Mike, right? In terms of size, height, athletic ability, prowess in the run game. All of those things feel like that. But what we've been kind of banging the table about with Mike McGlinchey is, and this is what I asked, on the stream that I did with my million views, we had Grant on again. And Grant was saying right tackle. And I'm like, well, Grant, where's the upgrade? And he goes, I don't know. I don't have the answer. And I think that's kind of what we were talking. Right? That's kind of what we were talking about. Everybody's like, anybody. Get
rid of this guy. Who's going to come play? Potato's going to come play.
It's not anybody. If it was anybody, they would have made this move eons ago. It's not
Yeah.
anybody. So I think that's kind of what's funny to it. But what I kind of was going to with that, and shout out to Grant, man, appreciate him for jumping on, on that stream, and that's my guy. But what I was kind of alluding to is that is exactly kind of what you set your watch to in terms of knowing what you're getting in the run game, knowing that you're going to get that sort of level of competency in that scheme of things, right? And you've watched Kyle Shanahan be able to mask Tom Compton for how long and do what he's done with Mike McGlinchey, right? Like you have to have similar hopes in that while hoping, and like you said, I think this is the most important part, is that Blake Freeland has a chance to take a jump in pass pro. And it doesn't even need to be a quantum leap. That's the thing about it, is a lot of people get worried about, well, he's this far away. Like Blake Freeland doesn't need to make this huge jump. He just needs to advance a bit, and then you tailor everything to his strengths. You play to what you have, and he will be fine. And I think again, that is what's lost in the discourse when it comes to Mike McGlinchey and offensive line play. I'm getting better, Brad. I'm getting there.
No, you're cooking right now, and you're absolutely right. Like incremental growth and pass protection for Blake Freeland is what the doctor ordered. He is adequate now. He has room to improve. So Blake Freeland will come in and be an instant plus run blocker in the NFL. His first step quickness, his ability to down block, guarantee you, Kyle Shanahan is licking his chops, and they're just watching this guy in the run game. They see the size, and again, it's the combination: the first step quickness, the ability to block down in a heartbeat. He's able to keep good pad level in the run game. It's being able to now continue to work and chip away at developing him as a pass blocker. And guess what? Finding offensive linemen in the draft that are great at pass blocking and great at run blocking are rare. In
Yeah.
the NFL, finding offensive linemen that are great at pass blocking and great at run blocking are rare. It's typically heavily leaned one way or the other, and you try to improve the other side, because what do you need in run block? You need power. You need leverage. You need to be able to generate movement. And in pass blocking, especially for tackles, you need finesse. You need to be able to have foot speed. You need to be able to have a strong ability to bend at your hips and be able to anchor. So those two things don't always come hand in hand, but with Blake Freeland, he has the opportunity to be able to be really good at both. He's already a good run blocker, and he could become a really good pass blocker. But that's why when we talk about insulation of the roster, the San Francisco 49ers bring back Colton McKivitz. And you talked about it earlier. We've seen them have success with Compton. You mentioned it. The 49ers went on a run with Tom Compton at right tackle when
Best run
McGlinchey got
blocker,
hurt.
best run blocking right tackle in the NFL according to PFF. By the way, I'm sorry. Keep
Right.
going. Oh, right.
No, but you never saw them put that out there, because that goes against the hype that they wanted to generate. But yes, you're right. Tom Compton, and he played really well that year. When it came down to not being third and long, and you having pass rushers,
It eroded eventually in the
back. Right.
divisional round and the championship round. That's fine.
Exactly. But the point being is, we've seen the San Francisco 49ers have success with Justin School in spot starts, Daniel Brunskill when he was just getting his feet wet,
McKivitz.
McKivitz as well. Like, we've seen them have to try to win games with Jalen Moore. They did win. They won a game last year with Jalen Moore starting at left tackle against the Panthers. So it's been done. So again, what we're asking and looking for the 49ers is, how do we address that right tackle? And if it is Blake Freeland, let's say, for example, and also the original point was trading up, right? They're going to
Of
have to
course.
trade up. They're going to have to trade up to get Blake Freeland. The point you made, they have all the draft capital in the world. They can absolutely trade up and go target a specific player like Blake Freeland. The best part about going out and getting a Blake Freeland is he doesn't necessarily have to start year one. If you get them into camp, you get Colton McKivitz, Blake Freeland in a bit of a battle. Also, the other plus thing about Blake Freeland, he could be your swing tackle. He could be your primary left tackle backup to Trent Williams if Jalen Moore isn't really filling that hole, or he could be competing to start at right tackle. Worst case scenario for Blake, he takes a redshirt year, right? And then he's just learning. He's that swing tackle. Colton McKivitz gets the start, and you're developing like we've seen in the past, just like Aaron Banks getting the redshirt year. Colton McKivitz got extended, but he only got extended through 2024. So you still got to look ahead a little bit. So, anyways, long story short, I do think the San Francisco 49ers are a prime candidate to trade up, and Blake Freeland is the offensive line target. Do you think there's a possibility they trade up and go get defensive end or another position?
That's the thing is the way that they go about free agency will tell you kind of what they need to target. If you're able to take one more thing off the board, right, in free agency, then it doesn't, I wouldn't say it telegraphs the 49ers points because everybody across the league knows everyone's needs. That's what I think the best part about reviewing other people's mock drafts who do not cover the 49ers is the best exercise for is we all have a very, very good handle of this roster of who's down the pipeline. And there was an article today from Matt Mayoko that'll let you know very much what the 49ers think of defensive tackle. And when he writes a whole article about Kalia Davis, not only did we kind of see it coming because of the 1 year that he would have off recovering from the injury, but that's not coming from nowhere. So, again, we have a great grasp on this roster. We have guys who are going to let you know before things happen what's going to happen. And when Matt Mayoko talks, you should listen. And when he puts out an article about Kalia Davis, that lets you know about defensive tackle and what they think they're doing going forward, even with the Javon Hargrave signing and the fact that Javon Kinlaw will be rotational as well, too. So I like looking at these mock drafts because people assume the 49ers are just looking for, like the last mock that I reviewed had Jonathan Mingo at 100 because he's a fast slot, a guy who's great after yards after the catch. Okay, that fits, but that feels like a luxury pick. That's not something I am right there at 100 targeting. And I think the world of Jonathan Mingo. He played 4 years at Ole Miss. He profiles very much.
Smooth.
Yeah, and he has some things that he needs to work on, right? Like, can he win on certain routes? Can he get better with his route running? Because that's what I watched. I watched a guy who was great with the ball in his hands, but I need to see the refined route running. I need to see you be able to win because you're not going to be able to just get by catching the ball and just running lazy routes here up in the NFL. Not that he runs lazy routes. Let me rephrase that. Unrefined routes. So
there you go.
I think that's the best part about like reading all these mock drafts. And the better part is when I read these mock drafts, it makes me go and watch players that I have outside of my scope, right? Like I've got the 49ers targets in my mind. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, he's a fit. I love this because we saw him at the combine. He's met with him here. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. This looks good. That looks good. But then organically, and I'm going to let you take the super chat, organically, you start to run into players, and that's how you develop organic draft crushes on players who are actually going to be big at this next level.
Absolutely. And I like your point about Mingo in the third. The 49ers took Danny Gray in the third last year. You can find value at wide receiver later. They have a ton of later picks. Don't waste the premium pick on a position that's so far. You look at Debo, you look at Ayuk, you look at Juwan, and you look at Ray. Yeah, some of them have expiring contracts coming up. So I'm okay with you targeting a wide receiver, but that's where we start looking at the roster because we're so entrenched in it versus someone who's just trying to fill a mock draft, right?
Brad, the thing is I'm much more safe with taking a developmental edge or offensive lineman in the third round for the next year than I am wasting a pick on a wide receiver hoping that he develops in the next round or for the next year. I would say there are far more wide receivers that you can find, not only in free agency, but in the draft that you can fill a hole. For me, taking a wide receiver that you're not going to use in the first year feels far worse than waiting for an offensive tackle to develop, waiting for someone to step in. So that's premium positions. That's really what I'm good with waiting for on more than anything.
And I think that's how you kind of got to attack it with this draft is take care of the premium spots, and you can find value with kind of ancillary pieces later on in the draft. Let's get to some super chats. We just got two dropping in.
Let's
Shout out
go.
to both. Shout out to both you boys. We got a 22 piece and a 20 piece chicken nugget. Appreciate you guys. Invading Robot says, "Hey, my dudes, appreciate you guys for the content you create. Always a must watch with intelligent discourse. Although I'll admit, I choose to watch an episode of The Last of Us a couple weeks ago before tuning in. Sorry. What is he talking about? What's he talking about?
What he's talking about is watching absolute cinema on HBO and then choosing to watch you and I after invading robots. Don't apologize. Do not apologize. Listen, I'm Jason Aponte, and I need people to watch my content. I need people to do this so I can fund my Disney trip for my daughter. I would
There you go.
absolutely 10 out of 10 times watch The Last of Us as opposed to watching Jason Aponte spout off yelling takes about kickers. 100%. Dude, do not apologize. The Last of Us is absolute cinema. I would have done it 10 out of 10 times. No need to apologize.
That's hilarious. I'll be honest. I haven't watched. I don't even know. I'm not a big
All right.
show guy, Jason.
All
I'm
right.
really not. I'm not a big show guy.
Brad, real quick. Let me get in my nerd bag. Real quick.
Let's get it.
The Last of Us is a PlayStation game that was turned into an HBO show.
Oh, I've heard of the
Yes.
game. I didn't know there was a correlation.
It's the same thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So basically, there's infected, and you're protecting this little girl and everything as well. It almost feels like for people who watch Marvel movies, Logan, right? Like Logan's protecting the little girl as he goes along, and he's trying to get her across to this place. Same idea. Last of Us, the game, goated. Show, absolutely goated. I can't wait for season 2 and 3, and I can't wait to watch. Haven't played the game.
See, I'm still working my way.
And I'm ripping a second.
I'm still working my way through Curb right now, so I don't
Oh,
know.
no. Stick with Curb. Stick with Curb.
I don't know if I'm ready for another show.
Curb is lighthearted.
I stick with right now. I'm sticking with draft prospects and a little bit of Curb sprinkled in. So that's kind of my watch schedule right now, in between making 49ers content. But let's see. We got another super chat from Corey Soto. Appreciate the 20 piece, my guy. And really quickly, as we keep this cooking, do us a favor, sub to both channels if you haven't already. Go smash that like button on both. We definitely appreciate y'all. Corey Soto says, Niners have found good play with their pieces, but in my opinion, O-line shouldn't be a patchwork quilt. My guys, spitting facts out here. Should be a budgetary priority, and I can't say it has. Sometimes think we prioritize left tackle because Kyle Shanahan had a relationship with Trent Williams. I'll take this really quick and I'll pass it to you. I agree 100%. Now, the 49ers have proven in recent years to seemingly prioritize the offensive line a little bit more. But if you have to, if you remember and you jump back into the time machine, the San Francisco 49ers only drafted 3 offensive linemen before they took Aaron Banks in the second round. And that was where they really felt like they started to shift to prioritizing offensive line a little bit more than in the past, because when you look since 2017, they took they took Mike McGlinchey at 9 overall because they had to move off Trent Brown. Trent Brown didn't fit their scheme or what they were trying to accomplish. So they traded Trent Brown, and it was more of a wash. It was like a lateral move. They had Trent Brown, who was a plus pass protector, not the best run blocker, and they shipped him off. And then they took Mike McGlinchey to basically just fill that hole. So it was kind of a wash in that regard, but they needed to get it done. And then after that, it was Justin School, I believe, in the 6th round, and it was Colton McKivitz in the 5th or 6th round as well. So I had always, you guys know me, I'm big into offensive line. I'm big into scouting offensive line. And every year I'm like, all right, this is the year they're going to draft these guys. Nope, not the year. We do know that they did spend big money on, and we forget it sometimes, Weston Richburg. Unfortunately, Weston got hurt to the point where he had to retire. But at one point, Weston looked like the guy at center, and they paid big money for him. Just unfortunately, it didn't pan out. I think what the 49ers have kind of how they've built the O line is they try to prioritize center and bookends, and then they can kind of backfill with guards. Remember, they traded a 5th-round pick for Laken Tomlinson. That turned out to be a home run pick and just got immense value out of Laken Tomlinson to fill in left guard. So I kind of hear what you're saying in a sense of trying, like, the patchwork. I don't think it's been a lack of effort. I think it's part of a philosophical way that they go about building it, trying, and also too, they gotta spread out funds, right? Like, I mean, we see how much money is in just the skill positions. So unfortunately, for offensive linemen, you can find value in the O line. You can find starting interior offensive linemen in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. You can go out and sign a John Feliciano for $2.5 million, who is a starting caliber, like, offensive lineman on the interior. So you can patchwork the interior of the offensive line. I do think they have shown a more recent prioritization with the Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, the Spencer Burford. They have, and I think they're going to continue to show that because I think they're going to go out and draft, but we'll find out. But what's your take overall on what's Corey got to say?
I think you nailed it. I mean, it's more about what the pattern is, what the strategy is, more than what we would like. I think we would all like the 49ers to spend a little bit money in offensive line. I think you just watched the Philadelphia Eagles load up on offensive line and literally roll to the Super Bowl and have a chance and be a half away from finishing it. So I understand that. The part that I don't get so frustrated in is because I've become accustomed to what they're doing, right? Like at this point, like for me, it's very much, hey, we're gonna try Jake Brendel out for a year. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay, 20 games and only 1 sack allowed, and he played very solidly, and we think you could take another jump. We'll bring him back now, and you still can allow Nick Zakelj to be there. You bring in Feliciano, who I want to have a bigger conversation with you because I do believe that there's a stronger chance that he starts at right guard and Burford kicks out to right tackle. At minimum, that's probably worst case scenario, in my opinion. Or like, I don't want to say worst case scenario. I want to say safety net. I want to say safety net, where you have a right guard that you can plug in that you know is going to be effective. And maybe Burford feels a little bit more comfortable at right tackle and is able to flourish a little bit more. So I do think there's a method to the madness. I won't argue with anybody that you need to probably invest a little bit more. You would like to see that. But when you look at this roster, who is barren right now with cap space, unless they do some restructures, you can't have McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Trent Williams, Fred Warner all on the same team if you're not shorting a position. Now, if you want to say you're shorting the worst position, which is offensive line, because you want to protect your quarterback, I hear you 100%. But you do have to take the good with the bad. And I do think that because even no matter how you feel about how the 49ers have done this offseason and how they've maneuvered, they're still the class of the NFC. And we still don't even have a starting quarterback for week 1 right now, for all intents and purposes. So I do think you have to take the good with the bad, but I will not argue with anybody who says that the offensive line needs to be invested in a little bit more. I am of the mind of just stop arguing about that because I know kind of what the 49ers mindset is we can find guys who we can have to our skill set. I mean, Jake Brendel's here because of Chris Forrester. Aaron Banks was drafted, and then he was plugged in right after because they knew they were going to lose Tomlinson. There's always a plan after a plan after a plan, and they find ways to cheaply restock this line, and it's mostly through the draft and with free agent signings of players who people have kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, also, and great points. And I think you can get away with some patchwork offensive line because we have to remember that the O line is like a team within the team. It's 5 guys that are working together. How offensive linemen are successful is not individually in a vacuum. Obviously, in pass protection, you're on an island, protection sliding to the right. You're a left tackle. It's you versus Khalil Mack. It's you versus a premier edge defender. Yes, that's the get your popcorn ready. All the fans are going to pay attention and see it in a vacuum. But when it comes to run game, when it comes to play action, when it comes to other things, it's a team within the team. These guys are all in unison, working together, passing off blocks, picking double team to backer. So as long as you get guys in there that work well as a unit, you can get by with, a Brunskill fitting right in and them not skipping a beat really at right tackle. Now, you get Brunskill one on one versus Chris Jones, then you're like, okay, well, that doesn't look that great. But you talked about it earlier with Freeland. Like, Kyle Shanahan is a master at being able to scheme it up so he's not putting his guys at a disadvantage. You go back to 2021, where they had Jalen Moore fit in at right tackle against the Jaguars. That whole first half, I mean, Jalen Moore eventually got benched that game because he was just playing, unfortunately, not very good. But that whole game, you could see Kyle was scheming away from Jalen to not put Jalen on an island. So to kind of bring it back around, it's like the offensive line, you can get away with some patchwork, especially if you got good bookends, you got a good center, you got capable guards. But I agree too. I mean, this has nothing to do with building an NFL team, but if I'm in Madden, which I am quite a bit, and I'm playing franchise mode, the very first thing I do is build the most dominant offensive line, 5 superstars. It's what I do. And I'm like out here cooking. It's just that's my personal philosophy. Like if I was in an NFL building, I'd be the guy pounding the table, like get the O lineman. Like why aren't we getting this guy? Like let's have the best offensive line imaginable. But as we've talked about, there's a lot of in between with building an entire roster, and you can patchwork that as a result if you want to put your priorities in getting the ball out quickly. Guess what? If you're getting the ball out quickly and you're not running a ton of 5 to 7 step drops, and it's bang, 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 first read out, you can get away with adequate, average pass protectors. So great question, Corey. Always love Corey's questions because they get me thinking, and we get to have these in-depth conversations about offensive line. But I want to take what you said and kick it back to you. Maybe you can even set it up. The Spencer Burford Feliciano. What specifically were you looking to talk about with that?
Well, I just think that there's a bit more of a chance that Feliciano is here to fill in at right guard, and Spencer Burford, who we identified through the draft process as possibly the Trent Williams replacement at left tackle, right? And I don't want to talk about left tackle, right tackle, and the differences between that because this isn't Madden. Like there's so many nuances and subtleties to playing both positions that it's just not like flipping, right? It's not like a wide receiver going from the right side to the left side playing X and Y. It's not the same thing at all. It's quite different, right? But I do think that the 49ers still kind of see themselves in a place where Feliciano feels like this Brunskill type, where it's like, yeah, he kind of was sitting out there. We can fill him in and maybe kick him out, Burford, out to the right tackle, who might be more comfortable than we believed at right tackle than at right guard, who at times looked a bit overwhelmed. That's why they continue to go to Daniel Brunskill. For me, I just think there's a little bit more of a chance that Feliciano is this right guard starter who's here based on the way that they've been paying people. I mean, last year, for God's sakes, Brendel made $1.4 million to start at center. That feels like starter money. Again, like don't look at the contract as, well, starting right guards normally don't make that. No, this is 49ers land where starting centers make $1.4 million. He signed a vet minimum deal with $1 million signing bonus. That's starter money for the 49ers. That's a definite chance that happens. I just think that there's more of a chance of that because Burford has a chance to succeed at right tackle. And wouldn't it be so 49ers of them to have drafted Burford and been able to replace Mike McGlinchey? Mike McGlinchey made 87 and a half. They might be able to get similar production and possibly more upside because we still have to see the development of Burford for 1/100 millionth of the cost. And it just feels like a 49ers plan. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a question, that I'm asked a lot because obviously I have a lot of strong feelings about this particular topic. I've been the guy on Twitter that's like, don't move these guys around. Like, pick a spot, keep them there unless they're a Brunskill. Like, there are absolutely guys that are, Swiss Army knives. You can literally put him in whatever configuration, and that's what Brunskill was really good at. He mastered, for the most part, both guard spots, both tackle spots, and he could fill in at center. So when this kind of conversation of, because when I, again, if you've seen me on Twitter, I got into the John Feliciano tape. I've watched him against Washington versus Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, probably the best two interior tandem defensive tackles in the league. Maybe that will be put on notice with Hargrave and Eric, but last year they I mean, would you agree with that? Would you say
Hell
they're
yeah. Hell yeah. I mean,
so
that's the reason everybody wanted Deron Payne until the Washington franchise tagged him. So I think
yeah,
I would say this. If Deron Payne hit the open market and so did Javon Hargrave, I think everybody would have wanted Deron Payne. And I don't think that's much of a hot take.
he's a younger Hargrave.
He's a
Kind
younger Hargrave and he'll be around for longer. Yes, 100%.
exactly. So I watched that game and phenomenal. I was like, holy, like Payne Allen didn't do a thing against Feliciano at center, and you're seeing Feliciano pull from the center spot. I've been like in my head or on Twitter, I've been like, Kyle, get a center that has pulling capabilities, because it just speaks to the athletic ability of that particular offensive lineman. But back to kind of what I'm like trying to get to is that with John Feliciano and the potential of kicking him into right guard and kicking Burford out, I've typically been against that type of mentality of moving guys from guard to tackle if I predominantly see them as a guard or a tackle. The reason why I am kind of opened my thought process to this potential is because ultimately you want the best five offensive linemen out there. Like, you don't want to shortchange a potential position if you can get the best five out there. Like, if I can get the best five on the field next year, and that happens to be Feliciano at right guard, and you bump Burford out to right tackle, that's why I'm open to it. Typically, I'd like keep Burford at guard, let him continue to develop, because there's still clearly room for him to develop at right guard and improve and get better and become a legitimate starter in this league. He's got the potential. That's not the problem. It's just refining the potential and becoming that potential with Burford. But when they signed Feliciano, I think his contract came out as almost fully guaranteed, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's Vetman, and I think he got $1 million at the signing. So, and I
Signing
think
bonus.
his cap hit is about 2 million.
Hmm. So it's not starter money for sure, but it's priority backup money. Um, so
No, someone asked
well,
what the shirt is. So Warriors
uh,
World, they
it's
sending
like,
all the
what you
merch now.
flashing at me right now? You flashing gang signs at me? No. So
No,
so with kind of Feliciano, the Burford conversation, I do think Feliciano is here for right guard. The
right?
instant question was, is Brendel in jeopardy of losing center? I'm like, did you see what they just paid Brendel? Was it
No,
like 4 years, 20 million? I'm like, no, that spot is locked. Aaron Banks is locked. He's a former second round pick. He is not moving. They even talked about it last year in training camp. They're like, oh, John Lynch said Banks did not look good in training camp. And we
no,
were both there. He did it. But they're like, he's a gamer. Banks isn't moving from left guard. So when I see the Feliciano pick, I think right guard. Can he play tackle? Maybe, but that's not where he's been primarily in the league. So the reason I'm open to this thought process is because I think Colton McKivitz is adequate. I think he's probably a little bit better than Tom Compton, but we just don't know for sure because we haven't seen the full body of work. But if you can get Feliciano in at right guard and you can get the athleticism of Burford at right tackle, does that work? Now, he played left tackle at UTSA. So he played left tackle for 2 years, left guard, I believe, for 2 years. So he's split guard and tackle. And I think that's why it's a more natural transition for him to go back to guard, because that's where he started at UTSA. but he does have that potential at tackle. I'll be honest, I didn't love Burford as a tackle coming out of UTSA. I felt like he profiled more like a guard, just from a technical aspect. But if you could get him, he's already got the right side kind of, the brain part of it, of like switching your stance and stuff. That part's down, and if you just kind of kick that out to right guard it or right tackle, it might be a little bit more seamless of a fit. That's why I'm open to it. Normally I'm like, no, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm more open to it now.
That's the thing is you still have to be able to identify a trait or a reason to move him to right tackle. It's not about smashing a square peg into a circle hole and just saying, you know what, we're just going to do this, right? Like if he has no chance to succeed, he's got experience at least one tackle position. And again, I despise when people are just like, oh, just move the left tackle to right tackle, because I think they underestimate the nuances, the subtleties, the technique that is involved on both sides.
Panay
But I do
Sewell had
think,
a really hard time making that
oh,
transition.
and Panay Sewell's all world. Let's
Yeah.
just like let's not even get it twisted. All world. And this man was
He's
struggling with
yeah.
that. Not only because of the level of talent jump, but just the technique and what it takes to move from one side to the other. Look, I
Yep.
only brought this up not because I believe this is something the 49ers are going to do. It's something I can envision in terms of how they maneuver. And I think they leave all options on the table, especially when right tackle right now feels like it's very much open. I think the leader in the clubhouse right now, March 24th, would be Colton McKivitz.
Mhm.
But I also don't discount that this franchise, this organization will go through every single method, every single option before they settle on something. And for many of us, I think you and I, right? Even last year, if we go back to our discussions and when we were at training camp, I think you and I kind of just penciled in Daniel Brunskill as center. Well,
Yeah.
not so fast, pal. Jake
Yeah.
Brendel's here, and he's going to start the entire
Forster
time.
said, "Nope, it's gonna be Brendel," and I was like, "I don't know about that," but I was like, "All
Right.
right, it turned out to be right." So I
So
gotta
again,
tip my cap.
this isn't something that again is like something that I'm like I am super, I guess, adamant about, right? Like I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh, you have to do this, like this is the right way. But I wouldn't be shocked, and it's something that is kind of just sitting there floating out there that it could happen.
100%, and that's what's gonna make the draft process super interesting because if they go out and get a right tackle, then that probably tells us maybe Spencer Burford isn't shifting to right tackle. They'll keep him in a competition at right guard. And I think from the 49ers perspective and a roster building perspective, yeah, you spent a fourth round on Spencer Burford, but you're always trying to improve, right? No matter what. Like I don't think they of course are going to do right by their guys, but that's the nature of the NFL is you're turning over. If you can get better at a spot, get better at a spot. So at minimum, Feliciano is going to be phenomenal interior depth. Best case scenario, he pushes Burford so far that he actually takes over the right guard for 1 year and
Mhm.
allows Burford to just get up to speed. Or Burford takes the challenge head on and continues to develop even further.
Brad, I just want to say I love that we went into this show with not a clear plan of what we wanted to talk about. And it's turned into about 30 to 35 minutes of offensive line talk. I
I'm
love this
loving
for
it. I'm
you.
like, let's keep
I love
going.
this for
Let's
you.
go, baby.
I love this for you, man. I do, man.
Oh, we got another offensive line question. I'll let you take this one. What about Jason Poe at tackle?
I want to make sure I articulate this in the right way where I'm not coming off negative, but I don't think that this is going to, I don't think any way that I sugarcoat this or say it. I think everybody's enamored with the flexibility of Jason Poe, and it's like, oh my god, I watched him take fullback routes, and I don't know if Jason Poe is anything at this level. He's a very strong guy. Like when I went in depth on him, he literally was like bench pressing the most out of his entire state, and that's he just he's small. He's small, and we talk about pad level. But pad level is no good if you're like very, very low. Like the idea of pad level is being able to match your opponent at pad level.
Right.
Um, I think we're all enamored with the idea of his flexibility. I think we're all intrigued by what Kyle Shanahan can cook up with him. Tyler, I don't want to be negative, but I'm not counting on Jason Poe for anything. That's it. That's the best way I
He's an
can put it.
undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
I think he has a better shot at playing fullback than he does left tackle, to be
Right.
perfectly honest. Like he would be the shortest left tackle in probably the history of football. Like, I mean, not the history of football, his history of the NFL, history of the 49. I mean, he's like pushing 6 foot. Like they joke about how they're like, is he 6 foot? Is he 6'1"? They're like, he's closer to 5'11" than and there's nothing wrong. That's part of what makes him a good interior offensive lineman. But when you kick those guys out to the edge, you got to have arm length. You have to. He's not the body that you want on left tackle. Quick clarification: Gaiman Brown says, Jason, are you suggesting drafting a left tackle to play at right tackle?
I am, just to piss Brad Graham off. And I want to push a whole narrative about why this works immediately and there's no sort of change in any technique and why it should just be like Madden and you should just be able to move guys. All right, so my best example is the best year that I ever was at Madden football. And remember, I'm about to date myself. Madden 2005 with Ray Lewis on the cover. Yes. Now,
going back.
What I did was, this is what I did. I used the New England Patriots. And this is before we realized that Tom Brady was the GOAT.
Yeah.
I would take Christian Fourier, who was the starting tight end for the New England Patriots, and I moved him to fullback. And I moved Ben Watson to starting tight end. And Corey Dillon was the running back for the New England Patriots. And I would run HB dive, HB toss, and I would throw linebackers because my fullback was a blocking tight end and a guy who could throw people around. So yes, Gammon, I would suggest us drafting a left tackle to play right tackle because this is Madden. And once you put guys in other spots, if you can block very well in one spot, put them in another spot and make sure you wash everybody. So yes, 100%, just to piss off Brad Graham, 100%.
And I'm absolutely here for this type of content because I'm furious right now. I'm fuming, if you can't tell. How dare you, Jason? How dare you? Now it's my turn to throw it back in your face because I don't know if you know this now. Not only am I an offensive line specialist, but I am now a kicker specialist. And now it is time, Jason. I need you to fix the biggest hole remaining on the San Francisco 49ers roster, the kicker spot. We have no kicker. We've got a long right in the middle. Come on. We got a long snapper. We got a punter. Got no kicker, Jason. What are the San Francisco 49ers going to do with the most important position to this team's quest for 6? What's going to happen?
God help me. God help me an entire offseason with the 49ers not having a kicker. This is, you know what we need to start? This is the campaign. This is the campaign we need to start. You ready?
Yes.
Pay Robbie Gould. Pay Robbie Gould so you guys can leave me alone so I don't have to hear about this anymore, so we don't have to listen about a franchise kicker being drafted. Robbie, come home. Please, enough, man. I don't care. I'm spinning my wheels on every show because the 49ers are one of 3 teams without a kicker. Please, God, just go ahead and sign back Robbie Gould so I don't have to hear about the 49ers spending 1 draft pick on a kicker when they've been so successful in finding picks in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. And you guys are yelling about, well, it's the 7th round only. Brock Purdy was the last pick in the 7th round, and you want to take a chance on a non-football player when there's a long track record of draft picks not being franchise kickers. Please, God, Robbie Gould, come home. Hashtag pay Robbie Gould. Start it up. Tag him. Tag his mama. Tag his
Twitter
agent.
Right now. Go
tag
now.
John Lynch. Tag Parag. Tag Jed York. Get it done. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Please, God.
When I get off this stream, I want to see hashtag pay Robbie Gould trending on Twitter. If you're watching this show, get on Twitter right now. Hashtag pay Robbie Gould so Jason can sleep at night. Because I'm going to ask him more questions about the kicker
No,
until
no.
we
All right,
know
hold on,
what
Brad.
happens.
Hold on, Brad. And I saw a mock, and I love you because you're the person that is making me become better at looking at evaluating positions. I think the first time that you and I met and we had a long heart to heart over like 2-3 hours of just talking was about draft evaluation and about technique and all these things. I saw you mock a kicker, and I was just like, Brad Graham, come on, man. The value does not work
Out
here.
here cooking with
Please.
kicker, baby. I got a Hall of
No.
Famer in the 7th round. I'm a kicker specialist now. I figured it out. I figured when that ball comes off the foot, ooh, looks good. So not going to be 7th round, though. I'm afraid to tell you, San Francisco 49ers are going to draft the kicker in the 5th round. What are you going to do?
I'm gonna puke. I'm gonna puke. I'm gonna puke. I'm gonna be physically ill. The only way that I would be more physically ill if the 49ers wasted a 5th round pick. The 5th round, you found George Kittle. 6th round, you found Hufanga, I think it was 5th, 6th round, whatever it is. I'm gonna be physically ill. The only way that I would be more physically ill is if the 49ers use another 3rd round pick on a running back. That's the only way that I would puke more. I would just literally be puking in my living room.
3 years in a row going 3rd round running back.
It's just this idea of a franchise kicker just does not exist. It's not a thing. It is not something that's real. Nobody has gone into the draft, and anybody who has a top 5 guy didn't draft him. They found him wherever they found him, right? Nobody goes into the draft saying, you know what's the one position we need to address and we need to really nail down for the rest of our time? Is franchise kicker. And the times that people did identify kickers and do that, it has become terrible. Roberto Aguayo was a 2nd round pick from the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Probably one of the worst picks all time.
Tampa Bay Bucks. If I would have taken a hat and it would have been with all the names of every single football player available in the 2nd round, and I would have picked one of those names, even if it was the worst football player in the world, it would have been a better pick than doing that. Please, can we stop? Robbie, look at me, Robbie. Look at me, Robbie. Perfect in the postseason. A savage, right? Like you just continue to practice your kicks while no, it doesn't matter. The Cowboys women could be on the field, their cheerleaders on the field, the Rams could be on the field. Doesn't matter. You're just gonna kick. Come home, please. Come home. Stop. Chicago doesn't want you. Remember Chicago? They ran you out with pitchforks and fire on sticks. They didn't want you back. Don't go back. They don't want you. You want to kick field goals for a team that has chances to win games. It's the 49ers. The Chicago Bears are a year or 2 away from competing. Please, just come home. Please come home. I want to be done with it. Please.
Just so I can experience you, I would love, oh my gosh, I would love for the 49ers to draft the kicker in the 4th round. I wish we were friends back then when they took Mitch Wishnowsky, because that would have been the most electric show in the history of 49ers content if me and you came on here to do a draft reaction show and I'm like, Jason, the San Francisco 49ers took a punter in the 4th round. React. Oh, that would have been amazing.
Is that the same draft?
I almost wanted it.
Is that the same draft that Jalen Hurd went in front of Terry? Yes. That's the same draft.
Oh my god!
So Brad,
yes, it was.
So Brad, I didn't do content at that time, Brad, and I feel bad. I've got 2 women in my house during this time, right? Yeah, because Jalen Hurd, yeah, right, like everybody's 6. It wasn't a happy house. Let's just put it mildly. You watch Jalen Hurd get drafted, and then Terry McLaurin goes a few picks after, and then in the 4th round, which is still highly valuable, the 49ers select a punter. Yeah, back-to-back picks. I was losing my mind in this house. And yeah, yeah, that would have been thank God I didn't do content. I would have been banned from every sort of streaming service, everything. They would have been like, we can never let this guy on here. He's literally throwing things around. Like, it just no.
So it's gonna be absolutely fat. Eddie Pinheiro off the market.
I hate that. That was the only other person that I was ready to go to in terms of veteran. That's it. So this is why it needs to be Robbie. It needs to be Robbie because Eddie Pinheiro was the only other kicker. Literally, the Panthers said, Zane Gonzalez, you're fired. Eddie Pinheiro, come on down. And now this limits the 49ers to two options. One, bring back Robbie Gould. Two, waste a valuable draft pick that could be had on an actual football player, on a kicker, and hope that in the divisional round when you're on the road, wherever it is, that Jake Moody can nail a kick that Robbie Gould has nailed every single time during the postseason. No, no, and no. Please, guys. I can't believe I'm advocating for this. How quickly the tables turn. Please. Ryan Suckup, absolutely not. If there's anyone worse from 50 than Robbie, it's Ryan Suckup. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is an absolute downgrade. The only way to upgrade from Robbie Gould was to get Matt Gay. And Matt Gay made far too much money. I can't believe we're still talking about this. And Matt Gay made so much more money.
A lot of money.
It's right now, Robbie Gould
more money than Brett.
It's either this. It's going to be Robbie Gould or go for it every single fourth down, no matter the situation. That's it, bro, at this point. Like, that's just going to be it.
The wildest part about this is if they go into the draft without a kicker, we have to be mentally prepared for them to reach on a kicker because everyone else is going to know they need a kicker. And that means they could be inching closer up into the draft. My biggest fear is kind of like what you talked about with Robert Aguayo. Like Jake Moody, like fans are kind of getting like obsessive over Jake Moody a little bit as a potential target because he's, Michigan, whatever, he's franchise leader, whatever. At kicker. But my biggest fear is them to take a kicker and it be a just absolute dumpster fire. They bring in a kicker off the streets and he's automatic. And I'm just like, that's my biggest fear with kicker is like, we've seen it. Like, I even think, remember when McLaughlin came in when Robbie was hurt and he was making kicks? Even like, didn't Joey Sly get picked up off the streets?
Joey Sly's the example. So this is again, all right, look, Brad, I don't like to do this and I don't like to like direct our conversations because I like our free-flowing ideas, but this is where we close this whole discussion about kickers.
No.
Because I have draft crushes that I've been watching. I've actually been into the draft process and we've spent far too long talking about kickers. So Chase McLaughlin, we can all laugh about that because he missed the kick that would have won the game in the game that the 49ers lost in overtime against Seattle, right? And that was Robbie Gould's people being able to stand on, like, this is why kickers do matter. You can't just bring in anyone. Okay. Joey Sly kicked in the rain against Indianapolis and then kicked against Chicago, and he nailed 2 50-yarders, which was something Robbie Gould couldn't do. And it only furthered my point in terms of kickers being on a scrap heap. And if you don't believe me, who is the Washington Commanders franchise kicker right now? It's Joey Sly.
Yeah.
And you find them and you recycle them and you find the next guy. You watch the kicking tape. There's somebody on the 49ers who sits there and they watch kickers and they just say, man, this guy's got it, man. You see that leg work. You see his tempo, all that stuff. And they bring him in. It's, again, when Justin Tucker's undrafted, when Harrison Butker's undrafted, when Jason Myers is undrafted, all these guys that are franchise kickers, why would you waste on a draft pick on that? Please, God, like, just please, man. I don't. And Brett Maher is the Dallas Cowboys franchise kicker. So, like, it's just everybody is set. There's only like 2 teams that need kickers, or 3 teams, whatever it is at this point, that don't have kickers. I think it's the Bears, the 49ers, and the Jets brought back Greg Zuerlein, Legatron. Like, he's somebody who's been around forever. Kickers have a longer shelf life. That's it. I'm done, Brad.
Okay, I'll let you get out because you've more than delivered. I was doing my live yesterday and I ended it with like, man, I'm so excited to drill Ponte with kicker questions and
why would you do
literally
that?
Just pepper him and try to get him spicy. You delivered, and I really do think the chat is very thankful and for your response, because it's one thing we can put our watch to and it fills us with so much joy. So thank you so much for delivering.
No,
And we can table the conversation about kicker for a while, but if they go into the draft without a kicker on the roster, get your popcorn ready. Make
no,
sure you put your post notifications on for Jason Aponte's channel,
no,
because this man's going nuclear and it's going to be
no,
pay-per-view. Get ready.
no, no.
Okay, last kicker question. Real talk, sign S, or is that sign and
Side
XFL
and
kicker?
XFL, yeah,
What do you think?
whatever. I mean, if it's an XFL kicker who used to
Who
kick,
cares, man?
no,
That's a
not even
friggin'
not
cares,
who
man.
cares. If it's an XFL kicker, because there's XFL players who used to play in the league, right? Like I'm looking
Yeah.
around, I see Geronimo Allison, Josh Gordon, I see all these players who used to play in the league. If it's somebody who used to kick in the NFL, I would have to look at whoever that is, but it's not completely off the table at this point. I mean, Daniel Brunskill played in the USFL, and now he's an NFLer. It's not entirely impossible. So if it's that person that has actually played, then yeah. And I don't want to start. I don't want to be starting kicker, Ray. I don't. I mean, I'm already skinny enough, man. It doesn't mean anybody can't kick or whatever. But if just you have some experience kicking, like if you kicked in high school, if you kicked in college, you're already well required to do the job. Like it's literally just like run up and kick the thing through the thing. Like, ugh.
Uh, they're going to draft a kicker and be like, I'm assuming F these picks,
Yeah.
because they're going in on the
It better
kicker.
be. I'll tell you this. It better be Jake Moody. It better be Moody. And I swear to God, I will never put more pressure on a draft pick that the 49ers have had than him.
You're like adding John Lynch every single time he misses a kick. See
Nice pick.
what you did.
Nice pick. Way to go. You could have had this player who's actually really good.
Yeah.
Nice pick. Nice pick.
Great pick,
Yeah,
bozo.
Trust me. Don't allow him to get over here. First of all, he's probably the best kicker in the draft. But if he gets over here, I'm gonna apply pressure to that man more than I have any player on this team, on this roster. And I'm not gonna let anybody forget it.
Hey, shout out Chad Ryland, Maryland kicker, future Hall of Famer, only because he followed me. But get ready,
like
he's
that.
going to be the draft pick in the 4th round. It's going to happen. But speaking, let's kind of wrap it up with, because we were talking offline about this too, and we started the show kind of talking about it. And let's kind of end here. Draft crushes. This is such a fun time of the year for guys like me and you, like guys like Justin in the chat, where like, just these players, sometimes you don't even know who they are. You just flip on the tape, you see a name, you're like, all right, let me go check this guy out. I have no idea. But they just jump off the tape. They speak to your heart. And then they become Terry McLaurin and become all pros and become legends. And you're like, I knew it. Has anyone popped up on the screen like that for you?
Brad, it has. And shout out to Justin, man. Me and him talk a lot in DMs about players, and we're just like, and he's like, please don't tell me this player's for the streets now. Because that's always my favorite saying. It's just like when you're out of the 49ers range, you're for the
Freeland
streets.
was for the streets. Byron is for the streets.
Sam Laporta's for the streets. That's
for
it.
The
like
streets.
Laporta's for the streets. What I've done is, again, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I have players in my scope and in my range for the 49ers that I believe can be impactful. And kind of when you get focused on those players, you just start hammering the table for them and you lose sight of other players, especially at positions that you don't feel the 49ers might need to address right away. Might need to address. So what I've been doing for Niners Nation, and shout out to KP, he's been giving me a ton of content ideas, and shout out to everybody who's been tuning into 49ers Afternoon Report. You've been following me, Monday through Thursday while I've been going through this, is I've been reviewing other analysts' mock drafts, because they have everybody 99, 101, 102 at different places and at different things, right? So an outside analyst looks at Jonathan Mingo, who was taken, and I think it's Jeff Risdon's draft wire, and they say, wow, he's a yak guy in the slot. He fits right in. He's physical with the ball. He just bulldozes guys. Fits right in, right? Makes sense. For me, that feels like a luxury pick. But Jeff Risden's 99th pick set me to a place where now I have a crush at a position that the 49ers kind of have one and two guys at right now, and they're starters. And it's cornerback. And it's a guy by the name of Elias Ricks of Alabama. And if you don't know who Elias Ricks is, that's probably because he only played in his junior year. He's a true junior. He only played in week 8. He started in week 8 at Alabama, but he transferred from LSU. So I want to make sure that, again, we talk about competition and we talk about where guys are from.
Mm-hmm.
LSU, Alabama, it's harder to like find two more highly regarded football programs.
Right.
Elias Ricks dealt with some injuries, and then he doesn't, for some reason, get on the field until week 8. But this is what I was talking to you about, Brad. Organically, when you just watch guys with no preconceived notions, because I had to write about this young man, but I also don't want to sound stupid, or take someone else's take on how he
Sure.
is, right? Like anybody can look up Elias Ricks and see, this guy said this guy said this, and just put something together.
Right.
But Elias Ricks, when I watched him more and more, first thing you need to do is organically come to your conclusion. I didn't go with any preconceived notion of me loving Elias Ricks. And I didn't go into this saying, I want this guy to be good so I can have somebody
Right.
to jump about, bang the table about. But identifying his negatives first. Okay, vertical speed wasn't exactly something that I was taken with. And he just ran at the Alabama Pro Day. It looked good. I don't know if the numbers are out, but if he ran I think he ran a 4.56, but if he ran a 4.4 this time at the Pro Day, then that drastically changes what I thought about him.
Mm-hmm.
But what I watched was a guy who was silky smooth outside corner, who was so good with football instincts, IQ, mirroring receivers. He was great in trail technique. He was able to make plays on the ball, triggers fast. Again, speed is one thing. It's one portion of it. But the
Mm-hmm.
more and more I watched him, man, I have no problem telling you guys, organically, I came to this conclusion. Elias Ricks has a chance to be the best corner in this entire draft. Let me say that one more time. Let me say that
Ooh.
one more time. Elias Ricks of Alabama has a chance to be the best corner in this draft. And this mock draft had him at 99. I don't know how much Alabama's pro day has pushed him up. And I do want to remind people of the 49ers outside corner situation. Diamador Lenore did a phenomenal job down the stretch, particularly in the playoffs. He was clamps, and he didn't really throw the ball his way. Mooney Ward is Mooney Ward. We don't have to talk about him. My question to 49ers fans would be this. If, God forbid, knock on table, knock on wood, any of these guys, either of these guys is injured, what's the alternative? I don't want to see Ambry
Ambry.
Thomas. I don't want to see Ambry Thomas play football. Samuel Womack struggled as an outside corner. I think he's much more suited to be a nickel corner.
Right.
I think if you can upgrade a position, especially at 99 or in the 90s, like Elias Ricks, if he is what I think he is, and you're able to pair him with Mooney Ward and have him for cheap for years and have two lockdown guys on both sides, my goodness, how does that improve your defense? How does that shore up your pass rush if your pass rush isn't as ferocious as it normally was? All this to say, Elias Ricks, come on down. You are Jason Aponte's draft crush. Sit right next to Will Mallory, tight end of Miami. Sit right next to Will Mallory, tight end out of Miami.
Will
You
Mallory.
two gentlemen are firmly in my
On
camp
Jason
this year.
Aponte's Wall of Fame. Come on down. No, I love that. I love the conviction. That's my favorite thing about draft season is when you're convicted on a prospect, because if you're just doing this casually, right? You're just watching prospects or whatever. My biggest piece of advice is don't listen. Like, let me preface this a little bit better. Obviously, you can turn to your Daniel Jeremiah's, your Matt Mill, whoever you regard as being a smart football guy, and kind of throw your processes against him or what their evaluations are. My advice would be just watch and develop your own perception of what a player is. Like you probably read what he's talked about. And you're like, well, all right, whatever. But I'm gonna go watch and make up my own mind. and then you go and see, and you're like, well, this guy could be the best cornerback in the entire draft. That is organically going into something, watching it, and just the conviction of your evaluation, and always hold that. You're not, and my biggest thing too, if you're just getting into draft evaluation, you're not always going to be right. Look at NFL, but don't feel bad about that. Doesn't mean you're a bad evaluator. You can learn things, but look at NFL GMs. Look at the success rate with the actual draft. The guys actually getting paid millions of dollars to do this for a living. It's hit or miss. So don't feel bad if you miss. Don't take the L. It's a lesson. Learn from it. Learn why it maybe didn't work out, and it can work out for not work out for a multitude of different reasons. But when it comes to scouting, when it comes to having the birthday girl,
You know I'm on the stream and everything, and you're doing this on purpose. You know that, right? You realize that, right? Okay.
happy birthday, Averly. Happy birthday. How old she turned, by the way?
She turned 6. Averly, Brad said, Feliz cumpleaños. Oh, God. She's in the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I don't care about that ginger beard guy. But anyways, back to my tangent that I'm going on. If you guys are trying to get into draft evaluation, do it. Start watching. Start figuring out what you like, what you don't like, what you see being a fit, what you don't see being a fit, and have conviction on it. My biggest thing is I will look at what other people say, but I don't have to agree with what they say. Like, I will take in points. I will then go back, rewatch. But the beauty of evaluation is I can look at a player, Jason can look at a player, and we can have two completely different evaluations. Doesn't mean one of us is right or wrong, because it will take years for us to figure out what the actual outcome will be. But again, the biggest thing I think, if you're going to kind of get into any draft evaluation, is figure out what you like. I have traits profiles that I like. I have certain, for different positions, I have certain qualities that I'm looking for. And that's the best part. And like, my draft crush that happened organically this year was Demario Douglas out of Liberty, wide receiver.
And the Niners met with him again.
I had no idea who this guy, Liberty. Like, the only guy that I know coming out of Liberty was Malik Willis, and before that, it was Antonio. What was his name? Gandy. It was AGG Gandy Goldson.
Antonio Golden Gandy.
And I'm like, but I don't watch Liberty football. I was talking to this guy, and we've talked about this on my channel. It's like the combine was a cool experience because I wasn't up to speed on scouting, and we get to talk to these guys and then kind of backfill. So like, talking to Demario Douglas, he was one of my favorite people to talk to. I thought he was a legend in regards to how he handled the interview, and then he killed the field drills, and then the tape matched, and that's how that organic thing built up. What are you snickering about over there?
I'm just laughing at that last comment. It's not Brad Kuiper. It's Brad Kuiper and Jordan McShay. I'm not. No, trust me. I'm still behind both these guys when it comes to that. That's a great joke from back in the day. You guys also need to do. Remember, you and Jordan need to do your mock episode, and you both have to wear the suits and everything and dress up and all that stuff.
Yes,
it's got to come back. It's got to come back.
Say.
For anybody that doesn't understand, that reference. When the 49ers had when we had a third pick, or was it just last year? It wasn't the third pick. It was last year.
We were doing draft content like damn near every other day. It was the year that they traded up to 3.
I think it was that right time. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, it was. It was very much that. So when we drafted up to, when we moved up to 3, on sprint right option, we had Brad and Jordan complete a mock. And Jordan wore a suit the entire time, and he looked like McShay, like on there. And then it became Brad Kuiper and Jordan McShay, and ta. That's kind of where that came from.
But Anyways, it's a phenomenal time of the year, and I think both Jason and I, like, we're ready. We're ready to go
Yeah.
for draft season. Just hopefully we're not scouting kickers too much longer, because I'm ashamed to say I've started scouting kickers, and it's an interesting world to live in because I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm gonna pretend like I do, and that's how we're gonna go.
Brad, since we're having fun, let's talk about this. And I'm sure you've talked about it with your live people, because it just came out for me as well. This 49ers media bracket.
Yeah,
Okay. So, Brad, I feel like you had the unfortunate path of going up against Matt Mayoko. But I do think that something that you should take away from it is how close you came to knocking off Mayoko. Like it wasn't a landslide victory. You were there the entire time. And whatever, I just got eliminated by Vish. Thanks a lot. You ruined Averly's birthday. Averly went and she ran into her room and she was crying like and
she
lost
was
it there. So
crushed.
she cried. I told her I was like, Daddy lost, and she was like, who did it? And I was like, it was Vish. And she was like, she doesn't want to go to Disney now. Next week she doesn't want to do
Come
anything.
on, Bish.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what, Vish? I'm happy for you, bro, but just know you broke up this happy family while we're here, man. Like just to let you know.
Damn it,
But no,
Bish.
Brad, I think that you really should look at that even if we didn't move on. And again, this whole tournament was a chance for people who weren't as known to get exposure. And I think again, we had a lot of fun with it. I had fun with it for sure. To be able to
Yeah.
make it to the Elite Eight, I never would have thought that was possible, especially when you go up against the legend Steph, who was like the team that put it all together going into the tournament. Like I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm running into a buzzsaw, to pass that, to beat boss man Rob Guerrero, who wanted to win this more than anything. Like that was really fun too. He's really pissed. He's talking about firing me. But but Vish, he's moving on. And I think the best part about this is that there is so much of the not the old guard, but the people that you go to for your certain, for your reports. Again, we talked about Mayoko. When Mayoko speaks, you listen. And Mayoko says
Yeah.
something about Kalia Davis. That means for sure Kalia Davis is going to be involved. He's not pulling that from nowhere. And then for Brad to be that close with a legend like that, I think Brad spoke to it. That's legendary shit right there, man.
I thought it was cool. Like, shout out to Rob, man, for putting that together
Yep.
because, like I talked about it before. Like, I'm a competitive person, and you put
Me
me up
too.
against someone, and I'm like, all right, let's go, let's cook.
Let's go.
So it was a fun experience. It's all good, lighthearted, moving past Chapman, getting to kind of square up with Mayoko, who, like, again, he's I called him the main 49ers boss because he's at the top,
And don't
right?
get it
Like,
twisted.
would you
He's
consider?
been nice to Brad and myself every single time that we've see. This is the thing too about this, Brad, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just
No, go for it.
Miyoko, Jennifer Lee Chan, Lombardi, all of these people have been nothing but nice to us when we've met them at the combine, whenever we run into them. So like this whole like everybody pitting people against people in terms of, oh, this is media, you're a content creator. We're all content creators, all of us. Some are
Yes.
just employed by other publications, but
Yeah.
we all are trying to find ways to create content. And I think there is a level of respect from those people to us because we've interacted with them face to face. It's not fake love, anything like that. Right now, whenever I see Matt Mayoko, hey Matt, how's it going? Hey, nice to see you, Jason. And same thing with Lombardi. What's up, buddy? Like, what's going on? Mike Silver, same thing. Like, there's less of a divide than you believe
Mhm.
between us who aren't like credentialed media members, whatever it is. We're credentialed for NFL stuff. We're not credentialed for 49 stuff. We're working our way to build a reputation to get there. Than it is you believe. Like it's not as far apart as you believe. It really isn't. And those guys know us. We know them. We respect them, and they're showing us respect. It's nowhere near the divide you believe it is.
Yeah, I mean, and pretty soon, like, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but the people that are going to be covering NFL teams are in some way, form, or fashion going to be content creators. Whether they're employed by a publication or not, that's what it is. You said it perfectly. It's content creation. We're all trying to figure out how to make the best reel or like whatever, like, the best short form content, long form content, written content, video content. That's where it's at, and that's where it's going to continue to move. And so it is really cool to just be in like that same kind of environment, because like, listen, I'm not really a big ego guy. I really try not to be, and I like, sometimes I'll get a little high horse and then just trying to knock myself back down. But like, just being able to go up against Matt Mayoko, who, like, 2 years ago, I'm like, why would I even in this bracket? Like, why would you even put me in this bracket? Just to be there, just to be able to like have it go that close down to the wire. That was pretty damn cool. So I just feel like for both of us, like, not just both of us, but the rest of the 49ers content community, man, like, it's just this bracket, like, there are a lot of people have participated in it, and it's just like, again, kind of showing us that, like, I think you and I, like, we made the correct, very difficult decision to try to do this full time. But again, it's just kind of proven to us, like, we're we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that is, I think, the most gratifying thing about it is like, we got a lane and we're gonna cook. Credential, no credential, we're gonna have good time with it. And shout out to everyone who's like in the chat voting for us, supporting our content, watching our content. That's what it is, man. It's just like this ecosystem and this community. uh at the end of the day, we love the 49ers and we talk about the 49ers. We're obsessed with the 49ers, and that's what
Right.
it is, right?
That's the best part is seeing the love that Brad gets, seeing the love that Vish is getting, seeing the love that Jordan Elliott's getting, right? Like,
Jordan Elliott, Elite Eight, baby.
Elite Eight, baby. Like he was close. He just faced Matt Barrows. Like again,
Yeah,
like
he faced another 49ers boss.
that's what I'm saying. Like I just feel like for me, I ran through probably I don't want to say the easiest schedule, but I didn't have to face Lombardi, Mayoko, Barrows, like guys that are like stalwarts of this shit. But like for people to say that they respect our content on the same level as that, one way or another, your votes
Yeah.
bear that out more than anything. It is gratifying, and again, this is fun. It's supposed to give you exposure. For the people who don't know who what you and I do,
Mhm.
are you know loyal fans of Mayoko and all these guys. Hopefully, they clicked on our shit, they looked at it and said, you know what? These guys are actually people that I would listen to, right? Like that aren't exactly like, you know, pushing a narrative one way or another, are trying to do the best that they can. And that's the best part about this is the exposure for everybody. So again, shout out to Rob, shout out to Gold Standard Podcast Network. We rep the gang all the time. But it's just like I want everybody to understand that whatever divide that is being perpetuated on Twitter about beat writers and YouTube content creators, it's not that far apart and it's nowhere near as deep as you believe it is because those people have jobs. We are trying to provide for our families in the best way we can while trying to give you the best content. And I think both kind of go hand in hand, one and the same at certain points.
Yeah, and again, shout out to Mayoko, shout out to Jennifer Lee Chan. They just put out a podcast. I would go listen to it because it was really cool, because they kind of pulled back the curtain a little bit about being an insider. They're telling some stories back and forth, and I'm sitting here like, wow, I can relate to you guys, because both you and I, Jason, have built relationships with 49ers players. We've built relationship with draft prospects. Like, we talk to guys on the team, off the team, whatever, and listening to how they kind of like their backstories, I'm like, wow, like I've been in similar situations, or I kind of can totally like understand like what they're talking about. Like, because we do content, players watch our content and they engage with us, and it's really cool. So um they're doing it at the highest level, right? And we're clawing away. So it's just cool to kind of be able to be at least in the same sphere, because like, what, 2 years ago, the gap between content creator and beat reporter was massive, right? Now it feels like we're not quite on, I don't think we're on evil playing field, but I think the conversation is a little bit closer than it was before.
The respect is growing. I think a
Yes.
lot of those people, again, all right, so look at it like this, and this is the best way I can put it. When you look at a Matt Mayoko who has built, his entire time and been a person who has been doing this for how long, right? And you look at the people who
30
get
years.
jobs at the Athletic, NBC Sports, wherever it is that you get your credential from, they already have the name brand recognition. What Brad, I, and all of us have to do is outwork and work our asses off as much as we can to put out content. I don't think
Yeah.
that you guys understand how much we have to put forward to demand that sort of respect, demand that sort of. Again, it's not about attention. I just want respect. Football opinions day and night because that's what's beautiful about football. I love this space because we can all like you said, you view a player one way, I view a player another way, and we can have our discussion and our discourse on it. The things that YouTube content creators and guys like us who are trying to make our way into that is we have to be able to demand that respect based on work, based
Yeah.
on what we've been able to put forth, how much we put into this. And
Mm.
Brad and I are two of the people that have decided to make this shit full time. I'll be honest with you. No matter what you believe of our stature, shit gets hairy. It's hairy right now in March. Right now in
Yeah.
March,
Wait till
right
wait
now,
till June.
right now in March, things ain't going so well. Things
Yeah.
like 49er fans are the most hardcore fans, and even many of them right now are completely disconnected from everything because there's just free agency and just draft. What we
Yeah.
have to do is we have to let the work speak for ourselves, and we have to continue to try to push that work. We have to do more to gain more respect because we're doing it on our own independently, because we're doing it on our own because of the love. When you have a name brand machine, something that's behind you that you know. And Matt Mayoko is an establishment.
Mhm.
Jennifer Lee Chan works for that establishment, the same thing. And they do incredible work. Again, I'm not disparaging them in any way. For us, we have to do more to show you that we're valid and we are worthy of you watching us. And that's what makes it so humbling. And that's what makes all the love that we get so much more deep for us
Mhm.
because we're doing it for that reason. And we're doing it because we love this shit. And that's the thing. It's like for now, we're trying to get ourselves to their level, but we're just
Yeah.
trying to put ourselves in a position where you can respect where we're coming from, even if you don't agree. That's all that matters.
100%. And just to expand on that a little bit more, it's like content creators are there's no one pushing them. There's no one pushing us to do this. Like there isn't a, a paycheck coming every 2 weeks that is guaranteed that when we're working on hourly. Like this is all you got to be a self-starter. You got to be self-motivated. And again, that's how we separate ourselves, right? Is like we are doing this all day, every day through the dead of the off season. Right now, it's still peak off season, but we're going to be doing the same thing in June when it's dead. There's nothing happening. There's no free agency. There's no movements. It's we're just waiting for training camp, right? But I think that's where like at the end of the day, small creator, mid-sized creator, big creator, we just got to work. And ultimately, like, and you know, speaking of creators and the creator environment, yeah, the 49ers creator environment is saturated. There are so many creators, but that's because I think of you look at the landscape and you see how everyone's working, it pushes other creators to work hard too. So that's the beauty of it. It's like, yeah, there are a lot of creators, but you look at all these creators, yourself, Vish, Jordan, Steph, Krug, like the list goes on and on. Jesse Nay, like the list goes on and on of like all these guys or gals that are putting in the work because they want to, because it's what they want to do. It's not because anyone's making them do it.
And 49er fans are lucky. For as many of you that complain about, oh my God, there's so many 49ers podcasts, there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
Everyone. And that's a beautiful thing. Going to the combine kind of peeled the curtain back for me in terms of content creators, because the Colts have like two or three guys that they have that are outside of the media bracket, guys that I'm very cool with. The Titans really have like one guy. You get to pick and choose whatever it is that you're enjoying about it, right? Like whoever you enjoy. And it's because this team is so rich in history. It's because this team has such a big fan base. It's going to be saturated. And again, I try to show the same love to whoever it is that asks me. Like, if you ask me to jump on your show, I will do everything in, and do your show, all of those things. I would show the same love to people that I would hope that I would get from people that were quote unquote above me, right? So,
Mhm.
again, like, that's the part about this community that's so cool, is you get to pick and choose what you like. You have multiple choices. As a 49ers fan in California, oh, you know what? Matter of fact, let me bring it to me. As a 49ers fan on the East Coast who used to watch ESPN, and that was the only way to watch watch any sort of sports thing. There was no Fox
You're
Sports, there
waiting
was
for
no
like a
internet.
2-minute clip about the 49ers.
It would be 2 fucking minutes about the 49ers, and they would fucking get off, and I would just be like, oh, great, like, and I would have to go read the New York Daily News about the Knicks and the Yankees and everything else. It's a beautiful time because 49er fans from no matter where you are can get nonstop coverage of your team and get nonstop opinions of your team from multiple perspectives. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
We spent 20 minutes on kicker today. Where are you going to
Yeah.
get that in the
No, nowhere. Nowhere.
national perspective? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
You're only going to get 20 minutes and Jason Aponte screaming from the rooftops about kickers here. So make sure you like and subscribe to Jason Aponte's channel. Also, you can shoot a sub to my channel as well. But
No, do that, please.
I love this topic. I love the topic of kind of the creator, kind of like we could do a whole nother pod on just being a creator and kind of like the back end side of what goes into being a creator and the community and like the ecosystem. It's fascinating, but it's a lot of fun at the end of the day. It's a lot of work. I would be lying to you if I said it wasn't. Uh, again, cool experience for me this week. I had a student reach out to me and said for one of our college courses, they wanted us to interview a CEO. And he said, I thought of you. And I was like, that's kind of cool because I had to do that when I was in college. And like, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And getting to just like talk about the back end of the business side of it, being able to kind of have those conversations and have someone like be genuinely interested about me as a CEO. Like technically, yes, I'm the CEO
You
of
are?
my brand and what I'm doing. Well, I have an LLC, I have all that stuff. So it's just cool, man. It's a cool like trajectory that I think not only you and I are on, but just the content community in general. And I think there's only one way for us to continue to go, and that is up. So I know, Jason, you're going to grind your face off. We are going to grind. I'm going to grind my face off. We are going to just keep doing content. I mean, it's the dead of the off season. You are now doing 5 live shows a week. You're writing for Niners Nation. I want to talk about this really quick. There's a reason I don't write. Can I write? Yes, but it takes me a very long time. And to not have insane spelling or grammatical errors, like it's too much for me. I can't do it. Like that's why I gravitated towards YouTube. Jason's doing both. He's doing both. And then on top of both, to be able to be an expert on the matter, dude's watching tape. He's doing the like I cannot express the amount of time that it takes to do all this stuff. So w- yeah, we get up and we talk, and we're talking for an hour and 40 minutes. But the things that we're talking about, we've spent a lot of time like getting this information to be able to talk about it, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is just because I put in a ton of time trying to look at different things doesn't mean that it's not worth disagreeing with. And
Yeah,
that's the beauty of this, right? Like that's the best part about this. It's like so many people are just quick to say, "Well, you put in all this work and you've come to the wrong conclusion." Okay, I'm glad that you feel that way, but I did put in the work to at least back up what it is that I said. And again, when you choose to do this full time, you have nothing to do but go. Like you have to go. If you sit and you wait, this is a very much out of sight, out of mind business. If you
Mhm.
take a week off, you are out of sight, out of mind, because there are people that are working. There are people that are going to be ready to take your spot. So I do think that a lot of people discount the work that we put in. I think there are a lot of people that just will sit here and say, well, all you need is an internet connection, a webcam, and a selfie light and a mic, and you can do this. Yeah, you can. But if you're
You
trying to
can.
grow, you have to offer something to people that they haven't seen, whether that be entertainment, whether that be information, whatever your bag is. And that's the
Multiple
part that I think
platforms,
that's
like,
it, right? Like it's harder than all that for people to understand that. And again, the other part that I think a lot of people struggle with is putting yourself out there to have your takes pick apart.
yes,
That is the hardest part, I think,
yes.
more than anything for anybody. Is it's okay to have your take that when you have it in a room with your five friends, it doesn't leave that five friends room. But when you put something on the internet, whether that's Twitter or YouTube, it's out for everybody. And it takes a strong person to be able to do that. It takes a strong person to be able to stand there in front of the camera and be able to say, I believe this. This is what's going to happen. And if you're wrong, you have to be that person that jumps in front of it. There's a lot of cowardly people that take down people for being in front of the camera and being able to give these
Yes.
points by saying, yeah, you're an idiot, you're wrong. Where are your takes? When do you get in front of the camera? When do you put your stuff in front of people to have it dissected? That's the funniest part to me. And that's the hardest part, I believe, for everyone who is trying to get into this content thing. It's the part that I think is the most underrated and the part that is the most overlooked.
I Man, you hit it on the head, 100%. Like, again, it's hard to go on Twitter and be like, listen, Mike McGlinchey is a good offensive lineman. I get
Oh
raked
man,
over
and
the
you get
coals
so much
day
pushback.
in,
You get
day
so much
out.
pushback. You get so much
So much
pushback.
pushback, but I believe it, but that's part of it. It's like having that conviction to be able to say what you believe and not be afraid of the pushback, not be afraid or like it, and I also do think it takes time, right? Like I think both you and I have dealt with that because we both
Mhm.
have gotten a ton of pushback on some of our takes, but it's not shying away from having a bold take, it's leaning into it even more.
Brad,
Yeah.
so Beria Sports Digest, formerly 49ers Gold Mine, who I rep, right? They put out something. What's a 49ers take that would have you? And it's the guy with like all the swords
Yeah.
to his face,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I saw that one.
And my 49ers bold take, which I don't even feel like was a bold take, was if you are no,
No,
we're
you're
not muted.
good. Yeah, you're
If
good.
if you are going to trade a receiver, I would prefer to trade Debo Samuel before I would trade Brandon Ayuk. And when I saw the traction it was getting immediately, 5 minutes in, it has like 175 likes, and I was like, oh no,
You know, hey, quick story.
I
I was like,
muted it. I muted it.
dude, quick story, and I'll let you go.
No,
I
you got it.
was on Twitter, and in my little sidebar, it said trending Debo, and I was like, why is Debo trending? I click on it, your tweet right there at
No, no way.
your tweet at the top. Every other tweet was like a day or two old. I'm like, this motherfucker, excuse my language. I was like, this
No, you
guy
got it.
got At least for
No way.
trending topics are specific sometimes to like the things you engage with. So I
Hold
engage with
on.
49ers. So for me, it said Debo is trending. And I'm like, why is Debo trending right now? And it's Jason Aponte's tweet at the top. And I was like, oh shit.
So all right, so so to I just looked at it because again I muted it. Once you start to see traction right away, I mute it because it's going to bring in every nut
Yes.
job on Twitter who is gonna say crazy things, right? So I don't want to see it. I also don't want to backtrack off my opinion because I believe it. I would 100% double down on that 100 times. And it right now on Twitter has almost 200,000 views. And I know views don't mean anything. It's just I didn't know that. I didn't
An
know that.
impression.
And that's crazy to me, honestly. But it has almost 1,400 likes and uh almost, oh my goodness, man. What is it? 175 retweets, whether that's quote and whatever. But again, like that's the perfect example of you having the conviction
Yeah.
to tweet something and knowing you're going to get pushback, but being able to not only one allow people to just say the craziest shit that they would never say to your face 100%. That's I
100%.
think that's I think that's the thing that keeps me safe now. You know what I'm saying? Because like I see people
Yeah.
saying shit like, "Oh, you're an idiot," whatever. Say that shit to my face, and I guarantee you wouldn't. That and then two, like you just have to just put your takes out there and not care what anybody's saying. And if you're swayed by what people are saying, it's going to take you out of your element and it's going to take you out of your evaluation process. So for me, I'm good. I'm good. 100% I back that. If contracts were the same and right now you had to move one of these wide receivers, it is Debo Samuel and I'm keeping Brandon Ayuk. I stand on that 100%. I don't care who disagrees. Don't care.
Absolutely. And like that's a part of what we got to do as, content creators. We have to It's not like we're going out of our way to have bold takes, but we got to have, like you
And
said,
look, and look,
conviction saying what we
And look,
want.
Dawkins the God, the same thing. Nobody's scared of your clown ass. You wouldn't say that shit to my 6'5" ass because I would throw you in a dumpster, pal. Like you again, 100% talking shit behind the screen. If you saw me face to face, your ass would be nowhere near me, pal. That's the funniest shit about all
Cook
this
that
internet shit. That's
bird
why I don't
fan.
care. That's why I don't care, bro. I will go to a Philly game, tell you what spot I'm gonna be at. Come see me, and I'll throw your ass in a dumpster and take your Eagles jersey off you. Stop playing, bro. Don't play with me. I'm cool on the internet. I'm chilling. I'm good. We talking football. Do not try to test me in different ways, bro. You don't want to see the other side of me, man. I'm not playing with y'all.
Hey, he's for real. I seen this man in action. He will not back down when he gets
Fuck out of
uh
here.
something brought to his attention. So
My sister wouldn't even go near you, Dawkins the God. I swear to God, I will put your ass in a fucking blender, bro. Don't play with me, bro. Stop. Stop.
So, as we wrap this up, obviously the San Francisco 49ers content creation, everything that we're doing, man, it's wild, it's fun. we get bozos in the chat just like that we got to deal with all the time. But regardless, we're working, we're cooking, and it's just heating up with draft season right around the corner
Come
and
here.
all that good stuff, man. Uh, can she hear
Dance
me?
what? She can, no, she can't because I have the headphones on. Say hi, mama.
Hi, Mama.
No, not hi, mama. Did you enjoy your cumpleaños?
No cumpleaños.
No cumpleaños. How old are you?
Number 5.
No, you're not number 5. You're number
6.
6. That's right.
Yay! Happy 6th birthday,
Happy birthday.
Averly.
No birthday.
No birthday. Go watch your Snoopy movie.
Just Snoopy.
We're all done. It's okay.
But this, man, these are fun episodes, man. Again, middle of the off season, we could probably go for another hour, but I appreciate you, Jason. I appreciate all the work that you put in. I know how much work you put in. I appreciate everyone out here supporting us, vibing with us, everything that we do on our channels, or whether it's writing for Niners Nation with Jason or doing the podcast network with Stats and all those, and Steph and like everyone else, man. We're just out here trying to provide content for you guys, and we appreciate the support in return. Um, we're going to be back, of course, next Friday with another State of the Franchise.
Ooh,
Oh, you're
all
at
right.
Disneyland.
Yeah, I'm gonna be with. Which one is it? Disneyland, Disney World. Where's which one? I'm going to the
Where
Florida one.
Disney World.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, I'll
What?
be in Florida. Oh, look, Brad, you and I'll talk. Maybe we might have to change a little bit of time because it's still East Coast time, but it's gonna be hard, man. Taking
Yeah,
Avery to
don't
celebrate her
stress
birthday.
yourself. Don't stress yourself.
But I can't go the whole week. I can't leave my people without any content. I can't leave people without their kicker content, which is what they come to me for. So I don't know. Brad, let's talk about it. I think we can set up a time.
All right, let's figure it out. Again, no pressure, but I know the people are going to want it. And we appreciate all you guys that say State of the Franchise is your favorite show of the week. We really do appreciate that. And it's been a lot of fun. This is what, 2 years that we've been doing this? Pretty consistent. So we're out here cooking, man. If we take a week off or whatever, just know it's because my man's is taking his family to Disney World to celebrate Averly's 6th birthday. Shout out Averly. Shout out Averly. Shout out Jason, and shout out everyone in the chat. You got any other content cooking up this week? It's Friday.
Right.
So
Friday. So tonight, I was thinking about doing sprint right option, but I think I'm just gonna go see John Wick. But I do want to put out some different kind of material. Again, I just got that. You saw it at the combine. The Miami Dolphins offensive manual. I kind of wanted to correlate that with what the 49ers do and maybe put out a video about that in terms of what Mike McDaniel's running over there, man. And I'm going to try as much as I can because that's why I've been doing make sure I do the afternoon report, make sure I fill the content as much as I can because I am going to be, away for a week and I'm going to be gone. So I just want to make sure that I don't slip on you guys. And this probably, you know what? This is my prediction. The 49ers are going to do a ton of things while I'm gone in Florida. And I'm just going to wind up live from Disney. Justin Houston is signed and we're cooking out here in these streets. It's going to have to be something like that. But I got you guys, man, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, you have you deserve some time off and you deserve to spend some time with the family. Again, we spend a lot of time grinding, and so the work-life balance can be difficult at times. So go out there, enjoy your time with your family. If we do one, we do a live. If not,
I love 187's comment. Thanks for the hard work, boys. I enjoy trolling you on a daily basis. I love it, man. That's the thing, guys. It's like when you're in my stream and you see Jim Everett and you see whatever Ramilia Sports Report, and it's just I'll literally be talking about something that I really put in a bunch of time, and the chat will just literally be arguing back and forth with these guys about where the Rams are and what they're doing. Right. I appreciate the fact that there are those guys that troll, but it's just so many of you get caught up in it over and over. And it's just even it's taking me a while to ignore it, but you guys got to ignore it, man. You guys got to let it go. They're just trying to get you all bad.
Oh man, it's fun, man, and trolls are gonna keep trolling. So we welcome you guys back to troll our chats as much as you please, as much as your heart desires to get our chats worked up. But appreciate everyone again at the end of the day vibing with us. Make sure you sub to both channels, like both channels, and again, stay tuned for the content that's coming up. Appreciate all you guys. I think we're good for today, right, Jason?
Almost 2 hours. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Again, shout out to my guy Brad. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to both channels, hit that notification bell for when we both go live and all the videos that Brad puts out and everything as well too. And go vote on that Final Four, man. Grant versus Vish, Crocker versus Barrows. I've got Croc. And the reason that I have Croc is that Croc is the most likable, has no real opponents guy on 49ers Twitter. If we're talking about people's champ, it's Croc. And that was always my pick the entire time, no matter what. Oh, well, Croc's going to run up against this guy. Nah, man. I see the love he gets. I see how he's received and everything. When Croc talks, you listen. He's a genuine guy. He's humble. He allows people on his platform. He never really comes across as a guy like, I know more than you. He always tells you, this is my opinion. I think Croc said it's up and it's stuck, and I think he's going to win, man.
I agree. Croc's been doing this and been a leader in the content space for a long time. I remember when I was doing social media for fourth and
Nine?
fourth
Yeah.
and nine, and
Yeah.
Croc was over there. Like I was cutting up cornerback clips and sending it to Croc, and like, I was like, I was no one. I had a stupid little fan page on Instagram. I'm like, hey, I know something about football, blah blah blah. But Croc he's been that guy in this space for a long time. I'm rooting for Croc. Of course, Grant is going to give him a run for his money.
And
Grant has a big time fan
a
base.
huge following, and he does great work. Like he has a huge following, and he does great work. So that's why when people are up in arms, like, oh, how is Grant moving on? What do you mean? Like, this man is moving. He has the most subscribed channel on YouTube in terms of 49ers content. So what are you necessarily surprised about? And it's not that nobody likes Matty Mayoko. What I want to tell people is Matt Mayoko doesn't give a damn about this bracket. This man is not promoting that shit at all. Like, at all. Like, he does not care.
Tweet it. He did a
Nothing.
look at it.
I'm sure he's
not
muted Gold
to his
Standard.
people.
He muted Gold Standards podcast and all those threads over and over. Like, that man, Matt Mayoko, does not need a bracket to validate himself. So 100%. Like, again, this wasn't to prove to people who's better at content or anything like that. It was more to get exposure to people who needed it. Not that Grant needed it, not that Croc needed it. Like a lot of other people that are now, I got a bunch of followers off this shit, based on the same thing. It's not that nobody dislikes Matt Mayoko. It's Matt Mayoko's not promoting it. Grant's going out of his way to promote it. Grant's got a huge following. Like when you count up his numbers on YouTube and on Twitter, he's got a huge following, and deservedly so. So again, like it's not really something where it's just like, oh, you prefer this guy over the other. It's who's moving this, who's promoting it, and that's what you're really seeing. Again, this is all supposed to be fun. The people that have the biggest issue with all of this are people that are upset for different reasons. All of us behind the scenes, like we're all talking to each other about it. We're all having fun with it, right? Like I text Vish and I was like, thanks a lot, asshole. You knocked me out or whatever. Like we joke back and forth. We joke back and forth about this. Trust me, the people involved in it aren't taking it as seriously as the people that are pushing back against it. And I think, again, we're losing sight of what it is.
Absolutely. And also, too, like all it would have taken is one retweet from Matt Mayoko, and I would have been cooked. Like, yeah, I was close, but one retweet,
you were real close.
I'm cooked. But again, just being in the conversation and just being able to call it close made it fun. So, hey, we both got next year. We got to talk to the Cedar about how this is structured because
it'll get bigger.
I was gonna for me to get to the final, I would have had to go through like 2 1 seeds, like a 3 seed. Like it was a challenging, it was a challenging ride.
If I would have met Mayoko in the first round, he would have cleared me. He would have cooked me. He would have cooked me. That's the thing. It's like right. That's what I'm saying. Like you're looking at people and how they're advancing, but you're not viewing like who they're facing. And again, like that's what Rob was saying. He was like, next year I'm putting you in with Lombardi and Cohn and all these guys. And I'm just like, relax, man. It's just like it could be that people people fuck with the kid. Like it's not that bad, bro. Like it's all right, bro. Like it's okay. He's like, but I'm the boss. You can't be outshining me. I'm like, hey. I was like, you recruited me. You like what I was doing. Yeah, I was like, it wasn't because I was trash, bro. So like, don't like it can't be both. So yeah.
That's hilarious.
Almost 2 hours. Look at this episode.
Yeah, man. We can.
And you were like, "What are we going to talk about?"
No, those were. I was like, "What do you want to talk about? Anything? Like, we're just going to freestyle?" I was like, "Yeah, just freestyle. All right, let's cook." And here we are, 2 hours later. But yeah, back to the bracket. Does feel like it's going to be Cohn versus Croc.
I think so.
And that's honestly a pretty legendary matchup.
I think so.
So I'm really interested to see how it goes, but I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to start working, make sure that when the bracket comes around next year, I'm prepared, ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun. If Rob keeps this up, like obviously people were responsive to it. I saw like John Lund talk about it on a podcast or something about that. Like,
and cool. don't get it twisted. He wanted to win. Like his bracket out of all of them had the most votes, or his matchup, all of them had the most votes over and over and over. Like so,
John
like
Lund?
yeah. So
Really?
he weaponized his following, and again, I
Ah,
think that's the best. That's the best way to look at this. Is
yeah.
no matter what the outcome is to see how many people voted for you, how many people enjoy your content. I think that's really the real W
Who
for us
wants to
smaller
see you
guys.
move forward?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was cool. Glad to be a part of it. Again, I'm competitive. I want to win. I want to
Me
beat
too.
Matty Mayoko. Do I
Yep.
deserve to beat Matty Mayoko? Absolutely not. But
Depends
it
on
would have
who you ask.
it
Depends
would
on
have
who
been
you
a
ask, Brad.
I mean, it would have been a nice little, hey, I advanced past Matt Mayoko. But deep down, I know Matt Mayoko's the
And,
GOAT, man. Like,
and when we see Mayoko, we'd be like, "How did you think you did in the media bracket?" He's gonna be like, "What bracket? What the hell are you talking about, man?"
what are you
Like,
talking about, man? Like, you guys, you're podcasters, man.
see him next time. I'll be like, "Hey, Matt, how did you think you did in this bracket?" He's gonna be like, "What bracket? What the hell are you talking about?" Like, he definitely
Yeah,
does not care.
all that crap you guys were tagging me in, I muted that right away. I don't even know what you're talking about.
The man had like
Uh,
800 notifications and was like, "I'm
yeah,
done."
I'm over this. All right, man. Appreciate all you guys. Right on 2 hours. Make video on your way out. Sub to both channels, all that good stuff. We'll see you maybe next week, maybe not, but we're coming with content regardless. And make sure you stick around because we'll be back. All right. See you later, guys. We're out. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.